What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and we're here with Ken McLeod, President, CEO, and Director of Sonoro Gold. It's a pleasure to have you on today, Ken. How are you doing?
Thank you, Aaron. It's a pleasure to meet with you today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Yes, I'm excited to be talking about the company. So can you start by giving us a bit more about the company, what you're up to, and what you plan to achieve?
Certainly. Sonoro Gold is a public company trading on the TSXV Venture Exchange and additional listings on the OTCQB and in Germany on the Frankfurt Exchange, Berlin Exchange, and the Stuttgart Exchange. And a good percentage of the shareholders in Sonoro are actually German residents, and so we've been very successful in establishing a presence in the German markets. And the company's been trading since 2011, went public with a property in the Mulatos mining district in Mexico. And the two founders of the company are still directors of the company, are actually the technical managers of the company in Mexico. And that project we had when the company went public was sold to Agnico Eagle in 2016, and it gave us enough capital to pursue two projects. The first being San Marcial, which is a potentially open pit heap leach type deposit, which is drill ready. But more importantly, we acquired the Cerro Caliche project, which is located in northern Sonora State, Mexico. And we've been drilling at Cerro Caliche now for the past 3 years. And the focus will be on taking Cerro Caliche to production over the coming, hopefully, 12 to 18 months.
Exciting times for the company, especially with near-term production in sight, if all goes according to plan. So let's talk about the recent news that you just announced. So in terms of the PEA, or preliminary economic assessment on Cerro Caliche, why is this so significant, and what does it mean for the company?
Well, this particular PEA is a milestone for the company. It's a culmination of 4 years of intense drilling, over 55,000 meters of drilling, which has produced a resource that is currently estimated by SRK at 440,000 mineable ounces within the pit shells, and a further 285,000 ounces surrounding the pit shells. The goal is to take this 440,000 ounces and start the mine up, and the focus for that will be to start off relatively small and then build up in year two to a much larger operation. And then the goal behind that, the thrust behind that, is strictly to keep the capital costs down up front. Because as you know, the markets have been really poor over the past couple of years for gold juniors and gold mining stocks in general. And so our focus will be to minimize dilution to the shareholders by cutting the capital costs down, thereby reducing the amount of equity that is required to put the mine into production. But keep in mind, though, that this is only the start of the operations at Cerro Caliche. This 12,000 ton per day facility will provide us over a 9-year life of mine and producing approximately 33,000 ounces of gold per year. But once again, I want to emphasize that is only the first phase of operations. We continue with the drilling program, and we estimate that less than 30% of the resource at Cerro Caliche has been drilled and assayed to date. Less than 30%. That suggests that the potential is very significant. So we will be drilling, we will be expanding the resource in due course, and the focus right now is getting the environmental permit approved to get into production over the coming year and a half.
So when it comes to gold production, not many small cap, junior exploration companies are able to offer the near-term prospect of production. Can you tell a little bit more about how that was possible?
Yes, there is a misconception in financial circles generally about how much it costs to put a mine into production. Everybody's used to the $300, $400, $500 million capital cost to put a mine in production. And that's fair enough when you're talking about a large underground mine. But here we're talking about an open pit heap leach mine. There are many of them throughout Mexico. They're based upon a very low strip ratio. In other words, the mineralization is very close to surface. And so you go in there when you drill and blast, and you put the material onto the truck that takes it to the crusher. The crusher then grinds it down to the appropriate size, and then from there it goes to a leach pad. From the leach pad, you sprinkle your sodium cyanide in a closed circuit system, by the way, and it percolates through the rock and releases the gold from the rock on the leach pad. And your containment system underneath takes it to what is called an ADR plant, which at the end of the day produces a doré bar. So that is the circuit. So there's no major infrastructure and aspects involved here. No major construction of buildings, no mill required, no concentrator. And therefore, we can easily cut the capital costs down. So we've taken a look at how we could mitigate on the dilution to the shareholders in the upfront capital costs. So we sat down, and this time last year, we were contemplating a $30-35 million capital cost to go into production. And then we had some discussions with the crusher distributors in Mexico, and they were very, very happy to cooperate with us in providing us with another option. That was a lease to purchase a crusher. So we start off 4,000 tons per day in years 1 and 2, and then we trade up in year 2 to start year 3 with 12,000 tons for the remaining life of mine as is currently known, and all of it on a lease to purchase basis. So most of the cost of the crusher will now go into operating costs as opposed to upfront. And this has reduced the upfront capital costs considerably. Secondly, we in the first 2 years, we'll use generators for the electric power, and then year 2, we install the transmission line to the property. We start off with the leach pad to accommodate the first 3 years of production, and then build up the leach pad for 9 years of production over using cash flow in years 3, 4, and 5. So all of that has meant that we've been able to reduce the capital costs by approximately 50% upfront, and the rest goes into operating capital. So it's made for a much, much better proposition, and it also yields a very successful outcome to the economics of the project. So when you consider the economics of a $15.5 million US upfront capital cost, you're taking $1,800 gold. You've got currently 9 years of life of mine based upon 440,000 mineable ounces. And the net result at 33,000 ounces a year gives you a net present value of over $70 million US. And the internal rate of return is in the order of about 59%. So it's a very robust project. And I'm telling you that this is only the start. This is phase 1 of a multi-phase project that will, over the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully realize the true value of the Cerro Caliche project. Because as I mentioned up front, less than 30% of the known mineralization has been drilled and assayed to date. So you can imagine what kind of potential there is for this project.
Exciting times ahead for you guys. So can you tell us more about Mexico as a mining jurisdiction and why it's important?
Well, Mexico is very, very important when it comes to gold and silver mining. The mining in Mexico has been ongoing for the past 500 years. And when it comes to silver production, of which we have a small amount on the property, it's the #1 silver producer in the world, and #8 gold producer in the world. And Sonora State is, in my opinion, the friendliest jurisdiction in all of Mexico to permit a gold mine. And 38% of the gold produced in Mexico annually is mined in Sonora State. And it provides 25% of the GDP for Sonora State. So you can well imagine how important it is for the governor of Sonora and the government of Sonora to be able to continue to add to the inventory of gold within Sonora, so that there's no reduction in the economy of Sonora over the next decade or so. So we have a tremendous amount of support from the government of Sonora, and we fully intend to cooperate with the government in bringing this project to an early stage of production, and then build up from there. We've got a lot of support from the local community, because the area that we're operating in has a long history of mining, but some of these mines have been depleted and people are out of work. So we will be providing good paying jobs for people in the local community, and of course the ancillary services that go with it. The mine itself will be situated on a ranch, so there's no conflict with people. The rancher has been very supportive of the project and has been working with Canadian mining companies for many, many years. So as it stands currently, getting back to the issue of why Mexico, Mexico has traditionally been an excellent place to do business in the mining community. The past few years have seen a reduction. In fact, very few new mines have come into production in Mexico as a result of federal government priorities. But that I see that starting to change now. There's more emphasis being placed now on reviewing projects that have been held up for some time. And we anticipate that over the coming months that the environmental agency, SEMARNAT, will be proposing to issue the environmental permits for a new several projects that have been held up for several months. We have been held up for a few months, but I don't consider that to be excessive.
So valuations in the mining sector, as we know, have been crushed over the last year or two with the state of the markets. With so many companies to choose from, why should investors be taking a look at Sonoro today versus, some of your competitors?
I think the bottom line for us, we are what I classify as Mexico's next gold mine, because there has been a dearth of new projects coming into operation in Mexico over the past 4 years through governmental policies. Now we're ready and poised to start the construction as soon as we get our environmental permit approved. We believe it's imminent. Now, imminent could be next week, next month, or it could be several months from now, but it's only a matter of time. We believe that Mexico will continue to maintain its position as one of the preeminent jurisdictions for gold and silver mining in the world. So we are front row center there. Our project is in a really excellent category right now from an environmental perspective, because we don't consider that there are any impediments to obtaining the environmental permit for the project. So anticipate right now that from the time that we get the environmental permit until we're actually in production, it could be as little as 12 months. So we're not talking about multi-year wait for the shareholders to see the fruits of our labors coming to play. And that is very unique in the mining sector, because once we are starting the construction, we will also continue with the drilling program, so that, as I mentioned to you, this is phase one of a multi-phase program to really develop this mine. And so while we're constructing the mine, we will also be drilling, and we will expand the resource. So if the outcome from that future drilling is positive, and we anticipate it will be, then we'll add to the life of mine, or we'll add to the daily throughput. So instead of 12,000 tons per day, it could be more, it could be significantly more, or a combination of both extension of life of mine or an increase in daily production. So it's all going to be beneficial to the shareholders as we go forward. And therefore, that is what makes Sonoro a compelling investment, because at the current internal rate of return, we believe can only get better. So if 59% is satisfactory to you or to your clients, then I believe that we can continue to do even better than that.
So we know gold's been on a tear, since this recent conflict. What's your outlook on gold as we move into 2024? It's a question I always love to ask. I know we can't predict the future, but I love to chat gold price.
Well, I think you've followed some of the gold bugs, and of course they've been predicting $3,000 gold for many, many years, and it's had its ups and downs. I believe eventually it'll get there. Will it happen as a result of the current conflicts around the world? It's a possibility. I personally don't believe it. I believe that it'll certainly go in the first quarter of 2024. That'll go in well over $2,000. I think the stage is being set for that. You look at the trading chart for gold, and everything suggests that over $2,000 gold is quite reasonable to expect in Q1 of next year. And in fact, today, I believe it's very, very close to $2,000 already. So I think we're going to have a very robust year in 2024 for gold. And hopefully that'll translate into a movement of capital into the gold sector from other areas, lithium and strategic metals and so on and so forth. Gold has always been a safe haven, as you know, and it's also very much tied into the price of the US dollar. And the strength of the US dollar has kept the price of gold down over the past few years. And if the US dollar starts to waver, and there's a lot of pressure on the US dollars from other geopolitical sources, then you will see gold as being the preeminent safe haven, and we will all benefit from that.
Definitely. So Ken, where's the best place for investors and prospective shareholders to find out more information on the company before we wrap this up?
Well, of course, our website is www.sonorogold, SONORO gold.com. That's probably the best place to get more information. Investors can send me an email to ken@sonorogold.com. Be happy to answer any questions they may have. And I look forward to having interactions with potential investors.
Definitely, Ken. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on. Best of luck with your operations, and I look forward to covering the story, hopefully having you back on for more updates.
Thank you, Aaron. It'll be a pleasure to talk to you.
If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below, along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.